The following program is paid for by Stephen K. Media.
Welcome to BBB Straight Talk with Dan Parsons, a weekly show on bad, good, and better business. Here we'll discuss scams and schemes to helpful business tips, and we'll feature guests from the BBB and leaders of accredited businesses, experts in our community, and the consuming public.
Good Monday afternoon. Welcome to BBB Straight Talk. I'm Dan Parsons, along with my sidekick, Jordan Razad. Today's program, well, I'll get to that in a second. Most people don't know it. Jordan and I co-host this thing, and we're together most Mondays. But Jordan is the producer and booking agent, if you will, and actually sets up our topics. So I kind of come in, and he layers down what we're going to do and what our topic is. And today is one in the world of technology. Get to that in a second. I want to let you know I will not be here in a week. You're going to be talking mergers and acquisitions.
That's right.
Sounds very lawyerly. And it's a woman. Has she done a book on it? Did I get that right?
She's done a study. She's interviewed like 90 people, 90 different executives who are very knowledgeable about mergers and acquisitions. And her study's kind of geared towards why don't they work? Why do they fail so often? And so she's kind of pulling the results of that and talking about that.
That's going to be next Monday at 1 o'clock, and I will be finishing up the meeting with my executive committee. So I have 11 of my bosses to sit and have lunch with while Jordan's running the radio show. So guess where I'd rather be. And then the following week, July 5th, that's the day most people are celebrating Independence Day, and we're going to run, as we usually do on a holiday, a repeat. And I think Jordan and I were just talking before the program started, we think the one we did last week on car buying had a lot of good tips. We had a call or two on that, so that's probably going to be what we do there. But today, I like our name Straight Talk because we kind of call it as it is, and today I'm going to tell you that we got a topic that well, you know what? How do you put guests at ease when the host knows nothing? And this host knows nothing. So I'm going to read right off Jordan's sheet of how he booked this. Mobile strategies. So is that how do I get from here to the office? Or is it...
It can be. It can incorporate that,
and it's not going to be. It's going to be a technical program we have from the advertising industry, the firm of Ferber Advertising, and Elizabeth Lynch. Elizabeth, your clients, some of the people you represent, just they know who can put a face with Ferber, if you could.
We have Goodman Financial. We have Hilton Koch, Hilton Furniture and Mattress. We have Suits You. We have Active Athlete. Dr. Wynn, Ear, Nose, and Throat. We have Lymphedema Institute. There's a lot of local businesses. We've also worked with Best Buy, their Spanish market.
Interesting. Okay. And her boss was on our BBB board a few years ago.
Yes, she was.
Somebody real known to us. And then we have a repeat guest that was here one of the weeks that I was not here, Nate Richards of Entrance Software. Nate, welcome back.
Hi, glad to be here.
You've got the biggest, I don't know what to call it. It looks like an open... cell phone, but it's something more technical than that. That's about all I'm going to talk about mobile app strategy. And I'm going to throw it over and let Jordan save the rest because anyway, we've got two experts on the subject. Actually, I've got some questions, but let you guys get into the meat of the program.
Well, like we said earlier, we're going to be talking about mobile strategy and how are folks looking at your business through their mobile devices, and should they be, and what are you doing to make your website accessible and friendly to these mobile devices, and are you going to go as far as starting to build apps and things like that? And I wanted to address this now because I know a lot of the listeners out there haven't moved on this, and now they feel like they're being passed by, and they don't even know the right questions to ask. So our guests here, I kind of briefed them ahead of time, told them, we're going to start very basic here because there are a lot of folks that aren't sure what the first step should be, but they have that sick feeling in their stomach that they're missing out, and they know that they're not far behind, that any time's a good time to jump on, but just how do you do it and where do you start?
Was it like the sick feeling with social media that people, kind of watched it develop and said, in fact, I said myself, will this come and go? And some of it might have, but it's here to stay. Same thing, Jordan?
Yeah. It's, as a whole, it's here. It's going to be here. It's just how do I jump on and how do I address it? It's another form of media, another platform. And how do I tailor it for my business? How do I make it work for my business? And so, it's fine to start with, one step at a time. And that's kind of what we're doing here. And I'd like to share a little story here I was thinking about last night, actually. We'll go back to the date, September 11th, 2001. And I know what everybody's thinking about that date, but I was in sales, and I was waiting. We were going to take a drive up from Portland to Seattle for a big sales meeting, and I was waiting very early in the morning for my ride, and one of the salespeople called and said, "We'll be there shortly. Did you know that somebody flew a plane into a building in New York?" And I was like, "Well, no, I've been standing out here." And as we got in the car and headed up towards Seattle, we were listening to the radio, hearing more and more about the details and getting a better grip on exactly what was going on. I had my cell phone with me, and remember, this is 2001, but the company I worked for made sure that we kind of had the latest and greatest as far as cell phones went, and at that point it was the Nextel phones, when it was still Nextel, now it's Sprint and such. Mm-hmm. But they had a built-in, I guess we'll call it a browser at the time. Again, remember, this is 2001, mm-hmm. But I have an uncle in New York, and I figured, well, this is probably a good time for me to try to work to use this browser. So I hopped on there and actually accessed my Yahoo email account and sent him an email from my phone using the built-in browser. Now, for 2001, I was amazed that it actually worked. And it, of course, it was not the friendliest thing in the world. It took some doing, but I did it, and I got an answer back from him and realized, wow, this is great. This could go places. And it wasn't even, at that point, for the Nextel phones, it was just sort of an add-on feature. It's like, oh, by the way, you can get this too if you want. But nobody was really addressing it that much at the time. Nobody really knew what to do with it. And again, the visual interface with it was terrible. The graphics were terrible. So you couldn't really do anything that way. But you could get text and things like that. And it kind of dawned on me, well, things could happen with this. So we'll fast forward now. We've got Androids, smartphones, Blackberries. They're all coming around. And like I said, a lot of our listeners they have not jumped on this. They don't know where to jump on. They're not even sure on their terminology. So why don't we start there with what exactly are we talking about? So I guess, Nate, we'll start with you. What exactly is an app?
APP. That much I know.
So app is short for application, and if you look at computers over the years, I think it's important to realize that cell phones are just computers. I mean, I can remember, years ago that the cell phone I have now is more powerful than the computer I took to college. Mm-hmm. And, not too long ago, people didn't take computers to college. So if you think about where we've come from and literally what kind of power is in our pocket, the apps are really just the software that run on those computers that sort of double as phones. And, app really, the shortened version of it is sort of some identity or branding put around it for Apple. You're really going to give Apple sort of the credit. It probably doesn't hurt that the beginning of Apple is also app.
Right.
Could we translate it this way? At my office, for example, my computer has email. Mm-hmm. That's an application.
Sure.
Access to the internet, access to our Word documents.
Sure.
These are all...
Word would be an app.
Okay.
Your Outlook.
It's all those things under programs, basically.
In essence, it is a program running on your phone or your mobile device.
There you go.
A tiny program, but they're not even that tiny anymore comparatively.
No, I mean they're really the only thing tiny about them is the name now.
So, okay, apps are tiny programs on your mobile device. So compared to what if somebody says, I'm not sure if I need an app, I need the actual program. What if I just enable my website to be viewed from a mobile browser? Is that sufficient? And I know that's a big question, but that is also an alternative to an app, isn't it?
It's a step in the right direction.
Exactly. I would say that would be a good beginning step, because once you make your website mobile friendly, and if you notice that you're getting an increase in traffic, mm-hmm. then you can consider, taking a next step into the technology world and go into endeavoring of creating an app.
So you can check out, if you use a mobile device and look at your own site, or people are looking at your site and it looks terrible from that device. Well, okay, there's the first thing you need to get working on, because you know that more and more folks are doing this every day. In fact, I look at our Google Analytics for the BBB, daily, and our numbers are always going up for, Android, for all the different platforms. So obviously it's happening, and might be fair as far as the mobile side for a company to look at is, I want to look at my site through a mobile device and see if people can even navigate our site and see what it looks like.
From a marketing standpoint, is it important for companies, and my ignorance will come out. Quite often I'll try on my cell phone to search things, and I usually go to like an MSN.com or Google, and then when the site I'm looking for, it'll show up under the search fields with the option. There's a little picture of the mobile phone, which I think they're telling me that's what I should be looking at. Where do you advise a business, and I don't even know whether there's cost to this, I assume there is, when do you go from the level of, and I just got my website work from this, to having that little icon and that special access? Where does that come in?
Well, I would say, first of all, look at who your target is, because the people who have the smartphones are going to be in your category of 18 to 34. You do have a few that are older, but if your company targets a younger demographic, definitely I would say that that's a good direction to go in. But if you're maybe looking into retirement funds, the baby boomers, they're probably still using just a feature phone that doesn't have these applications. So it wouldn't be credible for you to move forward in that direction, depending on who your target is.
And does the BlackBerry kind of cross the line between the feature phone and smartphone? Is the BlackBerry considered a smartphone now, or more of you hear the term an email phone kind of bandied about. Yeah. So what exactly does that mean? What is an email phone as compared to a smartphone?
I'd say if you look at sort of the phones that you get for free when you sign up for a new cell phone plan, nowadays most phones can send email. And so the idea of this dumb phone, what is a dumb phone? It's anything that's not a smartphone. Right? But even the dumb phones now can do more than just make phone calls and have contact lists. They've got a notion of a calendar, and they can send email, and they can text, probably take a picture, play games. And
what are the limitations? Is it speed or ability to hold applications and programs? What's the downs? In other words, what was it this past weekend? T-Mobile was doing some kind of free phone thing, and people were lining up.
Oh, well, they've got the... Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm thinking the iPhone. I don't know what they're doing. I think they're doing buy one, get one free on all their smartphones. I think is what they're doing.
So what's the limitation? Is it just, and I want you guys to think about that, because I'm going to come back on a technology question for how do we stay current?
Yeah.
Or can we?
Yeah.
I had
a moving target.
Yeah. With all technology, it really is.
Yeah. I mean, answering Jordan's question around the BlackBerry, the BlackBerry has its own operating system, and you can build applications for it. They're actually built in Java, and it has its own development environment similar to Apple's or Android's or Microsoft's, for that matter. And I would say that's really what makes what we would think of in general terms as a smartphone, is it has an operating system, there's an API, so programmers can create things for it. It's not closed, it's open. And so, if you look at that free phone you get, there's no way to put new things on it. It's a closed system. It sort of you may get an update from the cell phone company, but in general, it's going to be a closed system. Okay. So smartphones are open. They can be extended, expanded, upgraded. Just like a computer.
The computer comparison that we've been...
My Nokia E71X is a relic. Right?
There it is.
Okay. Because,
it's at least 6 months old. That makes it pretty old, right?
Okay. I'm just going to sit back here in my corner and not worry about it.
Well, as far as platforms go, then, you got to, for the folks out there listening, and they're thinking, well, which one am I going to jump on to kind of look into the future that's going to be the one? Obviously, iPhone, you hear about all the time. It's sexy. It's the cutting edge thing. But is it for business users? Is it the same thing? And then we have the other platforms going strong too. Android's growing. So what is it for the business user, or can you even should you address them all the same?
I think it goes back to an audience question, so maybe Elizabeth...
Well, yes, and you have a graph here, and it shows the different operating systems. And there was research lately that the RIM has the most users out there, but that Apple has grown significantly, 70%, I believe, in 1 quarter or a year. And so Apple, those would be the top two to consider. I know that I believe Microsoft is kind of going out the window. So you'd really need to take a look at both of those. And I think it goes back to who you're targeting. More local business owners will probably have an iPhone, and then the corporate world who let their employees, get a BlackBerry or some sort that would run on the RIM system. And so it just, you have to really do research. It goes back to research on, who you're targeting and then what system is being used by who you want to reach.
I think you also have to look at the capabilities of the phone, what it is your business wants to do. Like, do you need GPS in the phone that you're trying to reach? That may narrow it down. Do you need a rich ability to interact with the user? That may narrow it down. So you have to look at the capabilities that each platform provides. They all have trade-offs. Certainly Apple and RIM have the most market share in terms of device numbers. But Android is quickly growing, and Microsoft is coming out with a new operating system in the fall.
Right, and we'll touch on that in the next segment here. You've got BBB Straight Talk. We're talking about mobile strategy with Nate Richards from Entrance Software and Elizabeth Lynch from Ferber Advertising, and we'll be right back.
This is BBB Straight Talk, and our program today dealing with mobile strategy. And that's really what we're doing. We're getting in some nuts and bolts about some of the applications. Nate Richards of Entrance Software returning as a guest here on the program, and from one of the city's better-known advertising professional agencies, Elizabeth Lynch is here with us as well. Jordan Razat, our co-host, set this program up. Jordan's kind of our triple threat. He does our social media, a lot of our work on technology, including booking this program. And I swore I would not be able to even come up with a question. I did run across one before I kick it back over to Jordan. I was in a meeting with someone, and I cannot remember who, but they were a very big leader in technology, and it shows how much I was paying attention. But I remember he took out his little cell phone, and he said, and I'm going to say it was a very short, like 2 to 3 years, you won't have computers. This is going to be it for everyone. It is the future. It is the world. It'll be on our hip. And he said it with a great degree of sincerity. From the amateur viewpoint. I mean, the tablet you got, Nate's a little bigger than that, but maybe a fanny pack instead of on your hip. But I mean, is he right? Is that where we're headed?
If you look at, and we talked about this a little bit when we were here for the cloud computing talk, but I mean, if you look at where the processing power is going, right, it's not these distributed sort of semi-powerful computers that we carry around today called laptops. It's centralizing in this cloud notation. And Microsoft, in fact, has a name for it called 3 screens in a cloud. One screen being the one in your pocket, one in your hand, one being your TV, and one being your screen at the office. And the rest is handled by the cloud. And literally, at the office, you'll have a big screen, but it may identify you by this thing in your pocket. When you get home, your TV may identify your cable subscription, which won't be cable anymore. It'll be cloud-delivered entertainment by your cell phone being in the room. And it won't be a cell phone. It'll be a pocket.
It's a little computer.
Yeah, literally. So.
These are, what was it in Star Trek they carried?
They're communicators?
Yeah.
And they're phasers. Don't forget the phaser.
Well, if there's a button and I hit it and Jordan vanishes here, then I better leave it alone. Okay.
Well, actually, looking at the videos for the iPhone 4, they are far beyond the communicators on Star Trek.
Yeah.
They're pretty sweet, really.
Of course, we haven't made a guest yet vanish up and be relocated over to the Galleria.
Except for running screaming out of the room, but that's a whole different technology there. And, I brought a graphic that we're sharing here on the table from a conference call I was on where they were talking about some mobile strategies, and it was just a projection in the future about when smartphones will overtake regular feature phones, and they're projecting late 2011. And this is just one expert opinion, but I mean, I don't think that sounds too outrageous. I think we're pretty much on course for that. And so, as everything becomes cheaper and more produced, you'll just expect that more and more people will have these and will be using them more to access the internet. So, again, on the strategy side, Elizabeth, with you, is this part of Are you making this a part of the package? I know with are you a full service agency?
Yes, we are a full service agency, and we take a look at everything. So any kind of medium outlet there is, we definitely look at what your goal is, who your target is, and then budget always comes into play as well.
Sure.
The smartphone graph, the Nielsen did do the survey about by 2011. We'll have more. Less feature phones, more smartphones. But that survey was actually done on a plan to purchase. So you have to kind of take that a little bit lightly because, how many people plan to lose weight and do they actually lose weight?
Sure.
So, and a lot of the people out there with the smartphones are the ones who are trading in their old smartphone for a new smartphone. I know that I'm one of them. So it's a little aggressive, but I do think it's very true because, who has beepers nowadays besides Dan?
That's it.
That is an awesome.
I have it, or that people are calling it to reach.
And people are still using it. Yeah. Wow. Well, but that brings up a good point, though. So, as you gain a new client, and you're having those kind of initial conversations about where they're going to go and how you want to measure it. How do you work that in to them, or what are the signs that you see as you get a new client that we're going to need to address this maybe more prominently than someone else? What are the signs for you that we're going to have to jump on the mobile side here pretty quick?
Again, it's by the target and a lot of the time what they've done. So have you done, as a client or for your business, have you done any internet marketing yourself? Because that's where we start off, because your phone is basically a small computer. So now instead of going to Google on your home computer, people are using it on their internet, and it's the same thing. So are you present whenever people are doing searches online? And then the next step is, I know that we have a client, Fashion House, who they advertise retail to a younger audience, and they're all about the social Facebook, and MySpace. So if you can do well on the social apps, then definitely you can consider making an app and moving forward. So I think you kind of have to test one thing at a time and make sure you're successful at it before you move forward in the next process.
Elizabeth, I'd like you to do a reality check for business. And early in the hour, you named some of your clients, and they were diverse, all over the map of customers. You're in the business. You're sitting here in the radio station. I'm watching you wave to people you know. You're at home. Okay. But business people, especially those entrepreneurs you represent, are usually strong-willed people, and they didn't get rich in technology. They got rich in furniture or whatever their passion was. When do you know, as their consultant, to say, okay, you're not listening to me. You have to do this. Do you have to do tough love with these people sometimes?
Sometimes you do, but in the end, it is their money. So, we can advise all you want. We can be the doctor and write the prescription, but, are they going to take it, and are they going to, execute it the way we say? Because you can't just expect to do advertising for 1 month anywhere and expect to see great results. It's just like losing weight. You have to diet and exercise for at least 3 months to start seeing if it's working or not.
You need the long-term commitment from them. Just like any kind of decent marketing plan will take. Is that you can't just you can't do your blog for a month. You can't do your email marketing for a month and then expect it to come in. You're going to have to stick to it.
Exactly.
Even if you're not seeing anything from the first initial quarter or however you're measuring it.
Yeah, because it builds on itself relatively. So we don't suggest taking a next step until we've seen that what we're already doing is proving results. So once we've kind of penetrated one area, that's whenever we're suggesting a new way to reach either a new audience or to promote a new product.
One of my frustrations with technology is not that I missed a lot of the education of it or the curve, or, let's be honest, have enabling. I've got people around that can help me out, and sometimes that's a bad thing. Nate, I watched you as a former investigative journalist. I have these moments when I sense either a question or statement gets a little pause. And we were talking about staying up with technology, and you kind of paused. Father's Day was yesterday. My father, God rest his soul, was an audiophile and was always, when beta format came out, he had it before anyone else. And he was like, look at these pictures. And we were like, in the price, he always paid too much. Always. When you could get a 5-disc CD player, he had it before anyone. He was always there. And it's almost a self-defeating prophecy that it was going to either the price would come way down or the technology would change. And I saw your reaction on that. How do you gamble? How do you know? I'm listening to you guys talk about the future, even a year from now. How do you play that almost like the stock market, that game of knowing here's what I need, but allowing room for growth?
I think it's a perceived value thing. So, for him, it wasn't just an investment in sound. It was a hobby. So he got personal, joy out of that. So maybe an individual consumer can justify that on that, but a business, typically is looking for bottom line results. What's going to be different about my company after I go into this mobile world versus before, and I think that's really where the value is coming from.
You nailed that. It was a hobby. I can see why he's back for another show. This is good. BBB Straight Talk today dealing with mobile applications, mobile strategy. We've got two great guests. Time's moving on. We're going to get into some of the nuts and bolts as we return. Stay with us.
Welcome back. This is BBB Straight Talk. This is the radio program of the Better Business Bureau of Greater Houston and South Texas. I'm Jordan Razad. I'm the internet guy at the BBB, and this time we're kind of flipping the switches here. My co-host is Dan Parsons, the president, the usual host, but since I'm a little more up on this topic, I'm kind of running
a little more.
I'm kind of driving the boat. We're talking about mobile strategy, and our guests are Nate Richards from he's the president of Insurance Software, and Elizabeth Lynch from Ferber Advertising. And we've, again, like I said at the beginning of the program, I wanted to keep this kind of low level and simple because, there's a lot of folks out there who just don't know a thing about it and they're intimidated by it. They don't even know where to jump on. And I think we're doing a pretty good job of it. We are jumping all over the place, but there's, again, there's a lot to cover. We could do several shows about this and just get more and more into it. And we talked a little bit about, the platforms. There's Android, there's RIM, there's a few different ones, and we touched on Windows a little bit. And Elizabeth, you said that Windows has kind of gone to the wayside a bit. But then I did hear that the new operating system's coming out, and it always, I don't know, I could be way off this. It always seems like Windows strategy has kind of been to kind of fall off the face of the earth for a little bit and see what everybody else is doing, let them make their mistakes, and then we'll just kind of copy it and then improve upon it the way that we do, And so do you think, either one of you, do you think that may be kind of what they're doing, and all of a sudden they're going to jump back with, either the new operating system now or in the future they're going to come screaming back and with something that's really going to blow our doors off?
I think that's exactly what they're doing. I mean, they're the only ones that actually showed a decrease in users or buyers. So, I mean,
just kind of sitting tight.
You have to do something, yeah.
I think that if you look at Windows Phone 7, you look at what's leaked or what's been released to developers, it's going to be a holiday release this year by Microsoft. It's 5 years of greenfield development, meaning they started from scratch, wiped the slate clean. They're eliminating backwards compatibility, just like what Palm did when they rewrote the old Palm OS to become Web OS, which we saw come out on the Pre for the first time, recently bought by HP. It was a risk they took, sort of alienating their software guys out there who were used to building for the old platform with a totally new skill set. So, Microsoft is taking the same risk, but I think they released last week that they're shipping several 100,000 phones out to developers that have already got apps in the pipeline. So
there's something brewing.
Yeah.
And it could be big and
it's really beautiful. It's a beautiful operating system. It's a lot like the Zune if you've seen their MP3 player from a user perspective. It's going to be very, very raw, very artistic, something a different side of Microsoft, not the corporate gray screen that we've all come to know.
So don't write them off because this could be.
I don't think they roll over and just watch their market share go away in any market.
That's not their
They're too big. Yeah. I think they've admitted some missteps that they miscalculated and got in too late. So thinking of what they're coming out with this fall started 5 years ago and they started too late.
Right.
This is how far in advance you've got to start planning these things and executing. So, I think you'll see them come back next year. I don't know that they're going to be a number one, number two player, but I think they're a strong candidate for 3 or 4 over the next 18 months.
They'll be in the mix still. They never really go away.
I have a question for all three of you. If you are, Nate, your description of technology flows from you. If you don't have a psychiatric background,
the Zen master.
Are you saying I'm like a Zen geek?
Yeah, I'm sitting here like cuddling my phone. I mean, like, you say this for if you are, and I'm just thinking of people who are, let's call it either lazy or fearful of the future and everything that's going on. Is there and Jordan, I'm going to ask you this as well. Is there a good key place that people can follow if you only were limited to one? To follow the technology, the changes, the good from the bad. Where do you look? Where do you get your information? All three of you.
Engadget. If I had to pick one. Engadget.com. Great blog, great gadget blog, gizmos, technology, etc.
Yeah, I think I'd have to second on that. That's a strong one to go with, and it's pretty easy to jump into too. You won't get blown away by the speak or anything like that. Anybody can kind of just jump in and find your information.
From the female perspective.
Well, I'm not all wrapped up in the Zen technology world like Nate is. And
let's
because
light some incense.
She actually has to sell stuff. So.
Yeah, I have to sell things, and I have to be afloat on not just, the internet world, but the TV world, the radio world. So I kind of go to a guru, a local guru, the high-tech Texan. I think some of y'all know who he is, Michael Garfield. Exactly. So he stays afloat. I mean, we were already talking about the iPad earlier, so.
Yeah, and that's another key thing too. Is
so find your source and embrace it, but stay up. This is a lesson that I'm learning today, so that's good.
Yeah, and find your people too.
Exactly.
They can be real people to get your information from that you trust too.
Mobile applications failed me one day on something, and Jordan, I've never even told you this one, and I want to know whether it's the phone, the company. Tell me what happened here. I have a GM car that's got a navigation system, and one of the lovely ones where you can program in addresses. And it's a phone book, so it's not the greatest. It changes yearly and all this. And I was looking for a particular fast food restaurant. I'm going to just tell you what it was. It was Arby's. I like their food. And I knew that the location I was going to be that I would normally go into was kind of far away. So I was on the west side of Houston, and I wanted to search locations. And so I go to my car's navigation, and it's dated. I know it is.
Yeah.
So that's not going to do me any good. So I pulled my little handy phone out, put in their website in my little screen, and it came up, and it looks like a regular, page. Find locations. Mark that in there, went down, and asked for my zip. And so I picked, kind of the zip I was in the part of town. And then it said, well, here they are. And there was like a little map, like a series of directions, but nothing there. And it never would come up that way. Was it a website trying to be mobile? Was it the wrong fast food place?
Yeah, I think that's probably a good estimation. Probably a website that's not mobile prepare. That's not made to be viewed by that device, that browser. Building applications on the web is very diverse. You don't know what window someone is looking through. Mm-hmm. Is it a Nokia browser on a Nokia phone? Is it an iPhone with Safari? Is it Opera?
It appeared to be incomplete, just not quite getting me.
And that's the problem with websites that look good for the desktop browser but have never been tested for the mobile browser or the mobile app kind of world, is that they're probably not prepared. They're semi-functional, but they could break down very easily.
On the subject of technology, will we see, I was at an auto show this weekend, will we see, sneak preview, folks, anything in cars coming down the road? Because that, again, your phone is now your brain and computer, and your car is, in many cases, especially with your clients like you've got, Elizabeth, that's your office. Will they keep up as well with technology?
I would assume they'd have to, but I was just talking with someone the other day, because your smartphones now have the GPS in them. So all the TomToms of the world and the cars being built with the GPS systems that do get outdated, I'm hoping maybe they make it a DVD player or a TV inside the car now.
I just got one. I just spent the money. Please make it into something useful.
And my brother messes with his cell phone sometimes for directions, and it's usually between curses and it dropping out, and it's pretty hard to do in a car. I know, as he said, because there's no way to hold. I mean, he just may not be equipped to do it. I'm lucky; I've got the built-in thing.
If you look at some of the new the new cars coming out from Ford that have the Sync system, it's a company that was bought by Microsoft 18 months ago, 2 years ago, something like that, and they will pair with your phone, index all your contacts, your calendar appointments, your business, whatnot, and all your music, etc. Index it and make it available via the heads-up display of the car. And you can use the car's controls as opposed to trying to use their phone controls. I think that's one of the big kind of dangerous things is you're trying to use your phone in the car versus, using that little volume control, that toggle to flick through contacts. Mm-hmm. I just bought a Lexus for my wife 3 weeks ago, and one of the really cool things is the Bluetooth pairing and how it can pair with multiple devices, so it can pair with my iPad and with my phone and with her phone, and it knows who's driving and who's doing what, and you can voice dial. And the whole point is I don't have to pick up the device while I'm operating a 3-ton death machine.
Yeah. I got very dependent on my Bluetooth where, a lot of people, they say, I don't even remember my wife's number because it's just been in my, my phone book for so long. And now I can't even remember how to use half the stuff on my phone because I just tell it to do something. Yeah. So if I have to do it manually, it's like, oh, gee, where's the keypad? I have to kind of fumble through. Mm-hmm. But it's a heck of a lot handier and much safer in the car.
What will the TomToms of the world do? Will they integrate? Because you raise a good point, Elizabeth. Are they going to be out of business? I mean, you're going to have people directions. The days of remember key maps. You don't know what these are, George.
Yes, I remember them.
That used to be how we got around, and it was, and still even today in legal documents, it's used as a reference point.
Yeah,
it's that well known here. Are they going to have to just get smart or get gone?
I'm not sure. I've never bought a TomTom, and my car does not have a navigation system, so I use my phone's Google Maps. And earlier, whenever you were mentioning looking for Arby's, if I have to look for something nearby, I know I was looking for an AutoZone nearby, and I went to my Google Maps and typed in AutoZone. So that raises another thing for business owners is make sure everything that your information is up to date, because if they look for you on a Google Maps or even the application where it tells you, if it'll pick up where you're at in the area and tell you, if you're looking for a restaurant or a gas station, just make sure that all your information is up to date, because you'd hate for somebody to try and contact you and then they can't reach you.
I forgot what I did on the Arby's thing. I wasn't giving up on this because it was really frustrating.
You really wanted a roast beef.
I really wanted that sandwich.
Horseradish was calling your name.
I kept going down through MSN searches kind of for their company, and so I was not on their website. I was on something totally different. And someone's talking to us about their problem with Arby's. Anyway, it was a totally different site, and it listed them by street addresses, so I found it that way. It's really kind of clever. Back in a couple minutes, we're going to wrap this program up, get some contact information. For those of you who have businesses, we've got a person who can help you market your business for the technological side. Nate's been over here giving us the Zen moment, which he could give to you as well. We'll have those comments in just a second. Be back.
Welcome back. This is BBB Straight Talk. We're wrapping up here, and as agreed around the table, time has flown by too fast again, as it always does. We've been talking about mobile strategy, and we could go on for another couple shows, but we will get back to that at another time. Our guests today have been Nate Richards, is the president of Entrance Software, and then from the advertising side, it's Elizabeth Lynch from Ferber Advertising. And being the internet guy at the BBB, I would be remiss if I didn't remind you all that you can find our website at bbbhouston.org. Or we're also on Twitter and Facebook, and just go to the search field and do Better Business Bureau Houston. It's a lot easier that way. So contact information. Elizabeth, how can folks find you?
You can definitely call our offices, 713-524-0382. Or if you just want to get a background feel for us, feel free to visit our website and some portfolios at FerberAdvertising.com. That's F as in Frank, U-R-B as in boy, E-R, advertising.com.
Nate?
Our office is 713-357-4930, and you can find us on the web at www.entrancesoftware.com, on Twitter at Custom Software.
This audience in this program is both business and consumers, and I hope one thing that we brought out today having these two guests, if you're a company, if you're in business and this stuff scares you, or maybe worse yet, you're not scared, you're just kind of going along thinking everything's going to be the same old. I think what they were bringing out today is that this is technology that may indeed help your business, maybe even your survivability. And you heard them during the hour. These people could present it in such a way that it's up to date, relevant, painless. So, hell, I learned in this hour from listening to you guys.
And that's something.
Yeah, if I can learn
that
from
is a Zen moment.
And I'm not throwing the page your way, but that can be my little secret. You keep it long enough, it becomes almost like, what's he got that I don't?
Maybe it'll be in an antique museum one day.
And I may be still hooked to it. I don't know. Anyway, guys, great job today. As Jordan said, we'll keep you on as we do technology programs down the road. Next week, we're going to talk mergers and acquisitions. I'm going to be tied up in a meeting, but Jordan has one test question. Yeah, they're going to talk about Continental and United. I may step out of the meeting to hear that question. And who is our expert again?
Connie Barnaby. She is a consultant and lecturer on many different things, but she's kind of finishing up a study where she's talked to about 90 different experts and professionals who are experts in mergers and acquisitions, and about why do they fail so often? Why do they always go bad? Or not always, but so often go bad. And her perspective is what happens to the cultures when you force two cultures together. And that can happen when you have mergers and acquisitions, but also when you have a company that takes on another division or the communication between marketing and production within a company.
That'll be coming up next Monday, 1 o'clock. Also joining us will be Leela Perrin, our marketing vice president, who's actually been in business herself, so it'll be a good foil up against Connie and some of her comments. For our engineer, Joe Nichols, Jordan Razad, myself, and our guests, thank you all. Have a great and productive week. That's it for BBB Straight Talk.